Namaste, welcome to the Advice channel. Thanks for joining. If you want to comment or ask a question, can't promise I'll answer, but you need to be signed into YouTube. Today I'm reading The Transparency of Things, Contemplating the Nature of Experience by Rupert Spira. And usually I read the summary on the back because it outlines very clearly what the purpose of the book is. And it's to look clearly and simply at the nature of experience without any attempt to change it. A series of contemplations leads us gently but directly to see that our essential nature is neither a body nor a mind. It is the conscious presence that is aware of this current experience. As such, it is nothing that can be experienced as an object, and yet it is undeniably present. However, these contemplations go much further than this. As we take our stand knowingly as this conscious presence that we always already are, and reconsider the objects of the body, mind, and world, we find that they do not simply appear to this presence, they appear within it. And further exploration reveals that they do not simply appear within this presence, but as this presence. Finally, we are led to see that it is in fact this very presence itself that takes the shape of our experience from moment to moment, whilst always remaining only itself. We see that our experience is and has only ever been one seamless totality, with no separate entities, objects, or parts anywhere to be found. I think that's a perfect introduction, really. There's no more to be said, which is good. Sadhguru Mujiji Ki Jai. Sadhguru Anantaji Ki Jai. Oh, you said there was some echo, Annette. Is that? And then it's fixed. Oh, brilliant. If there's any problems, any sound problems, then just say so, comment in the chat. And I'm not very technically advanced, so I may or may not be able to fix it. So we're in the middle of a section that's entitled Nature's Eternity. It's quite a long section, so I started reading and got halfway through. I read up to the little lotus symbols in the book, and then we have silence. There may be silence at certain points, just to digest certain contemplations. So yeah. Consciousness is present during the appearance of any perception, and when the objective part of the perception disappears, it remains as it always is. Nothing happens to consciousness when a perception appears or disappears. It takes the shape of the perception, but remains itself, just as a mirror takes on the appearance of an object, and yet always remains exactly as it is. We have no experience of the appearance or disappearance of consciousness. In spite of the appearance and disappearance of perceptions. Our experience is that consciousness endures, that it is permanent. Likewise, reality, existence, endures. Of course, this statement does not make sense, because it implies that consciousness and existence endure in time. When perception vanishes, time vanishes, because time is the duration between two perceptions. In fact, even during the presence of a perception, time is not present. Only the illusion of time is present. During the so-called interval between two perceptions, not even the illusion of time is present. So consciousness and reality do not endure forever in time. They are ever present, always now. They are eternal. Time, however, appears to exist from time to time within consciousness. Eternity is the term Cézanne uses to refer to this ever-present reality, and he understood the purpose of art as giving us a taste of this eternity. He felt that art should lead us to reality, indicate that which is real, evoke that which is substantial. It should lead us from appearance to reality. It should point towards the essence of things. And it does so by using the insubstantial, fleeting appearances of sense perceptions, the elements of all her, in brackets, nature's changes. He did not say that art depicts reality any more than literature describes it, but rather that it gives us a taste of reality. It takes us to the direct experience, the intimate knowing that consciousness, what we truly are, is the substance of reality. That there is only one thing, that there is only being. William Blake expresses the same understanding when he says, "Every bird that cuts the airy way is an immense world of delight enclosed by the five senses." He uses the bird as a symbol of nature. He is saying that the reality of the bird is an immense world of delight, but that its reality is veiled by the senses. By using the word enclosed, he suggests that the senses somehow limit reality. They condition its appearance. It is significant that Blake describes the reality of nature, of an object, as delightful. Cezanne also says that the reality of nature, which he calls her eternity, is experienced as a thrill. Both Blake and Cezanne are suggesting that inherent in the oneness of consciousness and reality is the experience of delight, that the experience is thrilling. This is in line with Indian philosophy, which describes every experience as an expression of Nama, Rupa, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Nama is name. It is that part of an experience that is supplied or conditioned by thinking. It could be called the concept, the label that the mind uses to frame the experience. It says, "That is chair." The concept chair is nama. Rupa is form. It is that part of an experience that is supplied by the senses. Each of the senses has their corresponding object in the world. The sense of seeing has its counterpart in the objects of sight. The sense of hearing has its counterpart in the objects of sound. The senses condition the way reality appears to us, depending on their own characteristics. Nama and Rupa together constitute the appearance of nature or an object. If we're to apprehend the real nature of experience, independent of the particular characteristics that are conferred upon it by the mind and senses, we have to denude our experience of that part of it that is supplied by the experiencing apparatus, the instruments of perception, that is, the mind and the senses. As we saw earlier from Cezanne's statement, if we take away that which appears, the objective aspect of any experience, we are left with the undeniable and yet invisible experience of both existence or beingness and consciousness. So in exploring the true nature of experience, we first remove name and form, nama and rupa, the veil of mind and senses in which reality is enclosed. This leaves us with the presence of two undeniable facts of experience, existence and consciousness, which in Indian philosophy are referred to as Sat and Chit. In every experience, there is something that is being experienced. That something, whatever it is real. It has being. That is Sat. In every experience, there is also something that experiences. There is I, consciousness. That something, whatever it is present. It is conscious. That is Chit. From the point of view of the apparent separate entity, we formulate our experience by saying, I see that. That is, I, consciousness, sees that, the object or the world. Chit experiences Sat. They are considered to be two things joined by an act of knowing. However, if we explore our experience carefully, we come to the understanding that consciousness and reality are one, that there is no separation between I and other, between me and you, between me and the world, between Chit and Sat. The experience of this realization is known in India as Ananda, which has traditionally been translated as bliss. However, this translation can be misleading. It suggests that the realization of oneness is considered to be accompanied by a rare and exotic state. And this in turn initiates the search for an extraordinary experience, for something that is not simply this. Ananda is perhaps better translated as peace or happiness, or simply fulfillment. In fact, it is very ordinary. It could be described as the absence of agitation, or the ease of being. Peace and happiness are normally considered to be a state of the body-mind that results from obtaining a desired object. However, in this formulation from the Indian tradition, peace and happiness are understood as being inherent in our true nature. And this accords with both Cezanne and Blake, who described the same experience as a thrill and a world of delight. When we separate that part of our experience that is imposed or enclosed, as Blake put it, by the mind and senses, by the instruments of perception, consciousness and reality are realized to be one. Their inherent unity is revealed. It is not created. Peace or happiness is another name for that experience. It is very natural. Although all objects ultimately come from this experience and are therefore an expression of it, there is a particular category of objects that could be called sacred works of art that shine with the presence of this understanding and therefore have the power to convey or communicate it directly. They evoke it. In classical Greece, this experience was described as beauty. Beauty is not the attribute of an object. It is inherent in the fundamental nature of experience. It is the experience of recognizing that consciousness and reality are one. Such sacred works of art stir a deep memory in us. We recognize something in them. In this recognition, consciousness is recognizing itself. Consciousness is remembering its own reality, its own being. It looks in the mirror of experience and sees itself. It experiences its own reality. Such works of art give us the taste of eternity. Consciousness and being are one. Identity is inherent in consciousness. Consciousness is by nature aware, conscious. That is what it is. And because it is aware, it is by definition self-aware, self-conscious. Consciousness knows itself at all times, because knowing is its nature. How could something that is itself knowing not know itself? How could something that is itself knowing not know itself? Its knowing of itself is not the knowing of something. Its knowing of itself is itself. Knowing is present in every experience. Consciousness is that knowingness. This knowing is the illuminating quality in all experience. The knowingness of consciousness is that which illumines all experience. Consciousness is self-luminous. It is the light through which and as which it knows itself. This self-knowing is expressed by the term I. I is identity. Identity is that with which I is one. Consciousness is one with itself and with all things. I am that I am. There is nothing present in consciousness except itself. Consciousness is empty of objective content, of everything that is not itself. This emptiness contains all things. It is a pregnant emptiness. In its unmanifest state, consciousness knows itself as itself. When an object appears, it is consciousness that takes the shape of that object. Consciousness knows an object by being that object. Its being an object is one of its modes of knowing itself. Consciousness can never know an object. It can only know itself. Its knowing itself is its being itself. The existence of an object is its being or isness. This being is the knowing of consciousness knowing itself. An object derives its being from consciousness, from amness. Being is present in every experience. Consciousness is that being. In the knowledge that I am, Consciousness and being are one. When this is known, the mind, the body, and the world become transparent and luminous. They shine with presence, as presence. The fabric of self. Prior to the appearance of any object, consciousness is as it is. Prior to the appearance of any object, consciousness is as it is. This is the condition of unmanifest consciousness, prior to our first experience in the womb, during deep sleep, and during the numerous moments between the disappearance of one object and the appearance of the next. There is nothing to suggest that this will not be the experience of consciousness after the last appearance of the body at death. Consciousness is not located in time or space. It is pregnant with the entire universe, including time and space. Within this vast, pregnant, luminous, empty space of consciousness, objects appear. Thoughts, images, sensations, and perceptions appear. Initially, the I am that is inherent in consciousness lends itself equally to all appearances. The I am becomes I am that in the presence of appearances. Consciousness gives its amness to all things. The amness of self is the isness of things. The amness of self is the isness of things. Consciousness is one with all appearances. Consciousness knows itself as all appearances. There is oneness. At some point, and that moment is always now, consciousness begins to select some objects over and above others. Instead of allowing everything to flow freely through itself as the creator, witness, and substance of all appearances, it focuses on some objects in favour of others. Oneness seems to separate itself into amness and isness. Amness becomes I, and isness becomes other. Consciousness and being seem to separate. They appear to become two things. The innate understanding, I am everything, becomes the belief and the feeling, I am some things and not others. In order to substantiate this new status of separation, consciousness bestows its ever-presentness onto a small group of sensations that comprise the body. The I am that. I am everything. Let's start that again. The I am, which becomes I am that. I am everything in the presence of appearances, now becomes I am that particular thing. I am something. So the I am, which became I am that. I am everything in the presence of appearances, now becomes I am that particular thing. I am something. Consciousness bestows its identity exclusively on the body. It believes and feels, I am the body. This belief is continually substantiated by a process of selection, by I like and I don't like, I want and I don't want. consciousness focuses its attention on certain appearances, on certain objects, by trying to hold on to them or by trying to get rid of them. A web of desire and fear is woven within the vast space of consciousness, through which some objects pass and which others are entangled. This mechanism of likes and dislikes fragments the seamless totality of experience into me and not me. The objects that are caught in this web become the fabric of the self. The ones that pass through become the world. In this way, the belief and feeling, I am the body, is continually substantiated. It becomes dense, solid, sticky, layered. The return from I am something to I am everything is simply the loosening of this dense fabric of self. The tightly woven garment of likes and dislikes in which the self is wrapped becomes looser. It is not so finely woven. The open space of consciousness begins to know itself again as a welcoming space in which everything is allowed to pass, as it will, when it will, where it will. The net of desires and fears is unstitched in this welcoming space, and fewer objects are caught in it. In the end, it is threadbare, and what remains of its density is so permeated with space that it no longer has any power to separate anything from anything. The body returns to its original transparency, open, available, loving, and acutely sensitive, but holding on to nothing. The mind is liberated from the tyranny of a separate self. and becomes clear, lively, and kind. The beauty and vibrancy of the world is restored. Oh, Priya, you want that sentence again? I'm not sure which sentence you mean. I can read the last section again, Priya, if you want me to. The one about isness and beingness. Okay. Consciousness and being are one. Identity is inherent in consciousness. Consciousness is by nature aware, conscious. That is what it is. And because it is aware, it is by definition self-aware, self-conscious. Oh, so you're going to find it downstream later. Okay, I can finish there. I'm not quite sure which section you meant. I can just read and a bit lost now. Which is okay. Thanks for joining me today on the Advice Channel. I should be reading again. Plan to be reading again next Sunday. And it's been lovely. It's been lovely to share in this. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Thanks, Priya. Thanks, Annette, for joining me. I think there's a third person watching, but I don't know who that is. So thanks for joining as well. And see you again next week.